today we are here to discuss a little bit this new project of ours in partnership with Switzerland and EMBRAPII and Innosuisse. It's about TechMakers. So what it's about this project? We were wondering a little bit while for the past year how we could foster new developments and investments in RDI in between countries. And we have made a pilot testing with Israel last year in partnership with the Israel Innovation Authority and also EMBRAPII. And we were very happy about the results that were possible due to this international cooperation. So we have invested some more months thinking and considering together with EMBRAPII how we could be working to promote this kind of international cooperation and promotion to more countries. And the first country that we have chosen to begin this cooperation for new RDI investments, it is exactly Switzerland. So I hope that you will enjoy the content that we're going to deliver, things that we are going to explain here. Basically, TechMakers, it's pretty much a partnership in between the Brazilian Trade and Investment Promotion Agency, EMBRAPII, and for this edition, Innosuisse, so that we are working all together to facilitate information for you all about how to find a partner in the country. Should it be in Brazil? Should it be in Switzerland? How to send us a project with your proposal of innovation and new technologies and products development. And we'll also provide in this process that I'm going to explain more information about deadlines, about matchmaking, and a session that we are expecting to deliver by the end of August. So for the people that do not have a partner, if you understand the whole process, can progress with the suggestions that we're going to be screening for you. So let us talk a little bit about ApexBrasil, just very quickly. So we are the Brazilian Trade and Investment Promotion Agency, and we work with the investment team to support that new investments can come to Brazil. Our projects are set to work with the private equity and venture capital industry, and as well as tech stakeholders. So as you can see, we work with foreign limited partners that are open to invest financial assets to Brazilian private equity and venture capital firms. This project of ours is done in partnership with ABV Cap. We also work with foreign managers that would like to invest directly in Brazilian companies and startups. We have a very special program to work with the companies that do have a venture capital arm and that would like to invest in funds or in companies or even expand their open acceleration programs or CVC, corporate venture capital funds, to Brazil. And the reason that we are here today, it's because of this last box that we would like to connect foreign companies that are willing to expand to Brazil to develop new technologies with Brazilian companies and Brazilian companies that see Switzerland as a very innovative market and would like to co-develop a solution, a tech solution with such companies. The most relevant projects on this regard are corporate venture in Brazil. Scale Up in Brazil, where we work to support tech companies to establish themselves in Brazil. Each year we deliver a cohort. We are doing the second batch with Israel. Next year we are expanding. And today we're here assembled to talking about TechMakers, right? Oh, welcome. I see that many more people had joined us, almost 100 people online. Thank you for joining. Have a good day. And progressing with the presentation, we are here to make tech, right? So it's important to share the timeline that we are expecting. So the first thing that it's important is that we are going to experience the process during these months that we're going to be together. And that's why we're having this webinar to explain the whole process and to provide all the tools that you may need. So the process will go from the proposals themselves, this intro webinar that we are doing right away, so you are making part of it, our feedback survey, the screening process so that Apex, Innosuisse, Europe Enterprise Network, and EMBRAPII can try to find partners for you if you don't know. The matchmake session, we are going to be together trying to deliver meeting grids for you. So we are going to deliver a online platform with a meeting grid for the ones that doesn't have a partner, so that you can get to know people. Then the proposal submission, and after the final selection. You may be wondering about dates and about this step. So pretty much the pre-proposals, it's a very particular process out of Innosuisse to receive pre-ideas of projects that would like to access the subvention resources. These pre-proposals stage, it's over, but it's not a trouble. It's only about the pilot edition of ours in partnership with Innosuisse. So it's no problem. We all have agreed that we are going to skip this stage of the pre-proposals. The people that have presented the project, fine, keep with it. They're going to be assessed. But the people that didn't have a chance, no trouble at all. We are here today exactly for this, to share information with you, and so that you can understand how to make part of this process during these 3 months. And we are beginning today, so you didn't have missing nothing. After this webinar, we are going to send you a feedback survey. If you would like to progress with the prospection of partners, would like to share information with us, or share inquiries about how to develop your technology or how to access all the money that we are going to invest in the most cool development ideas, you need to answer this feedback survey that we're going to be sending from July the 3rd to July the 6th. If you do not do this, we are not going to understand what is your need, whether you have a partner, what is the area of interest that you would like to develop a solution, and no information at all. So we're going not to be able to support you. So as soon as you receive this feedback survey, please do it so and answer for us. Then after we have all the information from these feedback surveys and we understand the whole package from Swiss companies and Brazilian companies that are demanding technology, we're going to begin a process that is very internal to us from EMBRAPII, European Enterprise Network, Innosuisse, and ApexBrasil, to try to understand what are the potential partners that could be a match for you. And if we do not have this information, we are going to be working with both markets and our partners to understand whether we can provide at least a name that you would like to interview so that you can develop your solution. After we have done all this process, there is going to be like a week that the full team out of ApexBrasil and EMBRAPII and Innosuisse are going to be working with meeting grids, so that all these people that we have screened and shared for you are going to be set on meetings with you for that day that we're going to deliver that session, that it's going to be online. Should it not be about the pandemics and the coronavirus, we would do in person and would bring a delegation of Brazilians to Switzerland or delegations of Swiss people to Brazil so that you could meet in person. We know that this foster business and build up confidence. Then after you are done with this process, you're going to submit your proposal. So in all the communication that you have received, you have information about how to see the call for proposals in English and the call for proposals in Portuguese from EMBRAPII and Innosuisse. You are going to be keeping receiving this information through additional communications and also in this presentation. It's very important that you take some time and read all the terms from the calls. They are equal, okay? It's just a matter of being Portuguese or a matter of being in English for your comfort. And after you have understood and screened your partner, please fill in all the information out of these proposal forms. Otherwise, you're not going to be eligible for the final assessment out of Innosuisse and out of EMBRAPII to have access to the financial resources for your innovation. And then we're going to have the final selection, and I wish you all good luck for the ones that are successful in having match partners and being together, beating the proposals. My time is running, so I'm going to be very quickly so that we can intro. And today it is the agenda of ours, right? We're right now with my introduction from Apex. I'm Jaime Queiroz for the ones that are joining right now, investment officer at ApexBrasil. Please count with us for all this process. Then we're going to have a brief intro about the Swiss opportunity and about Innosuisse from Larissa Beutler. After we are going to move on and do the same process with our Brazilian innovation partner, which is EMBRAPII, the Brazilian opportunity with Mr. Carlos Pereira. Then we're going to have a brief intro for the European Enterprise Network that's going to be made by the European partner, which is Nicolas Lenza, and also from Márcio Canedra from European Enterprise Network from Brazil, for the Brazilian partners that would like to understand how to find partners. These people are going to be your friends together with Apex, so please treat them good and send all the information that we're asking. And after, to finish things, we're going to do a brief panel trying to understand about Swiss companies and Swiss entrepreneurs and universities and research institutes, what makes both countries a good match, how was the experience about them scaling up business in both countries and developing solutions through this mechanism that we are presenting. And after, it's the closing remarks, and you're going to be free to take your coffee. So just a little bit about Brazil. I have just one more minute. So we're a very strong market, right? We have 212 million people. We answer for 30% of LATAM's GDP, and we're talking about almost 40 countries in the region. So this is very relevant, right? It's a very big country. We have 5 sub-regions for the ones that doesn't know Brazil. And that's very important because each sub-region of Brazil is a relevant place for innovation with different areas. It's important to notice that almost 7% of our population, research institutes, industries, and things else are very concentrated to the southeast, northeast, and south regions of Brazil, right? I always keep this information about e-commerce just to give you a flavor about how it is the capillarity of the internet in Brazil and how it's growing. Now I think that with this corona pandemics, we're going for 160 or 170 million people using smartphones and all technologies related to communication, right? We are the 9th economy in the world. We answer for around 12% of the world's foreign direct investment. And for the ones that are not really sure about what are the main industries or some relevant milestones about the Brazilian industry and what we answers in the share of the world in terms of manufacturing, development, commerce, and trade, just get there some industries and some relevant players that you may be considering for your business so that you can identify a partner or even propose a new innovation, right? We're going to be sending this information to you. I'm almost finishing. It's very important to notice as well that in recent surveys by Pricewaterhouse, when it comes about proposing an international expansion from their company to an additional market, Brazil ranks 5th in the mind of the CEOs for that as a very relevant market. So please keep this trend and make this percentage to grow. And use this project to be your first entrance to the Brazilian market by developing a solution and innovation with a Brazilian partner. If you have made a technology together with a Brazilian partner, you're going to have your first step about opening the market or make your expand process with future partners and even make additional investments because you have developed this new technology and have clients paying for it. Here's the final slide that I'm going to share with you. So please join these links to check the terms from the calls in Portuguese and English. Don't forget about that. Read all the information. There you're going to find information about the timeline and also about the forms that you need to fill in. we are going to be sending additional communication for you so that you can understand more about the steps that it will take through this 3-month process, right? So this is my presentation. Thank you so much. These are my contacts. I'm going to be back to moderate a panel and to do the closing remarks. But as of now, I would like to call my colleague Larissa Beutler from Innosuisse to intro about the Swiss opportunity and also Innosuisse. Larissa, please, you can share your screen.
So I'm here. Thank you so much for the signs, very helpful. Very warm welcome from my side. My name is Larissa Beutler. I work at Innosuisse and I'm the program manager for this particular call. And we're very happy to see so many of you joining this webinar. It's really great to see that so many are interested in this collaboration despite of all the challenges we face. And as Jaime said, we really try to use this webinar instead of face-to-face meetings to keep working on our relationships and to most of the important thing to support you towards your application process. So this is an overview about the funding instruments from Innosuisse. We have those 4 instruments or 4 main categories. B2B Connected offers instrument to connect people and create networks of different stakeholders. Then Go Global is the area which is the internalization, so also the bilateral cooperations. Then we offer funding instruments for startups in particular. And the 4th instrument is the Start Your Innovation project. This is actually the funding mechanism which is also aligned to this particular call. So I'm not going into detail about the 3 other instruments, but of course you can contact me or visit our website. Some of the instruments are also combinable, so maybe you find something else which could support you or for this call or also for your other innovative ideas. So here you see in a nutshell the funding mechanism which is aligned to this call. It's actually very similar to how EMBRAPII funds their partners. So national consortia are based on partners from industry side and from academia side. Then Innosuisse funds the research partner and funds the 50%. So this is also a reason why we really saw this collaboration with Brazil, which matches very good because we have those similarities even in our funding mechanism. Here you see our different bilateral cooperations which we have currently running. You see South Korea, Sweden, Canada, and of course Brazil. Very important for this call, of course. This picture was taken last year when a delegation from EMBRAPII visited Switzerland. It was a very appreciated visit, and this picture also showcases that we have a really strong common interest. We have We have networks between our funding agencies, but also with academia and industry together. And during a stakeholder event in Brazil, which was also last year, the thematic focus was more on life science, medtech and pharma. And then during this visit in Switzerland, we focused more on food and startups, nanoelectronics, IT and services. So that was also a little bit process during these visits to focus on common topics, which we have now for this call. And those are listed here. You know those from the call document. Those are biotech and medtech, agriculture, industry 4.0, and so on. And we really see strong common interests and also market opportunities in those fields. And also, we really think that Brazil is also a great opportunity to enter the South American market, and we see Switzerland sort of the gate to Europe, also in terms of market entry. So we strongly believe in this cooperation, and we really hope that we can give you some more information and help you guide you through this application process. We're here to support you. Please contact us and let's have a discussion about be it your idea or the administrative process or whatsoever. Please just contact us, and we're happy to help you with this. So okay. This is also my contact, and I'll be happy to have further discussions.
Okay, thank you so much, Larissa. So we have a couple of questions here. Let me just see. Oh, this is Amanda. So Amanda from Swiss Next Brazil is sending a hi and a hello to everyone in Brazil and in Switzerland. As you may know, they have a program called Go Global that supports Swiss companies to expand in Brazil. They have annual editions. So please, if you would like to have more information, contact us or send an email to amanda@swissnextbrazil.org. I hope that we can also build a partnership for the near future so that we can provide support to all the companies, not only with TechMaker for new R&D solutions, but also with the Go Global program and Scale Up in Brazil programs that are both similar on purposes of supporting companies to establish themselves here. And we also have a question from the Anonymous. Anonymous, come on, you should have placed your name here. I don't know who you are, but you were asking about how does research and industrial collaboration looks like for highly regulated fields such as medtech. Well, this is a little bit more complicated because you need to understand about the process and the licenses from Brazil to be operational, right? Also, the Brazilian partners may need how to be authorized and with all the permits in Switzerland, should you be willing to explore this innovation in your country as well, or in Europe, right? But I'll leave this question, I won't dismiss it, but I'll leave this question in the end. So perhaps Carlos could provide us with a little bit of this flavor about previous experiences, okay? So I'm just dismissing. Jose Lavaquial, I'm going to be sending the information about the call and the links, but you have in your invitation that you have received of this webinar, the links for both the Portuguese version and the English version. Tiago, let us see. This is going to be the last question I'm going to answer right away, right? Because we're moving to the next speaker. Then we get back. Do you have a policy or proposed policy for intellectual property regarding results achieved from this cooperation? This is also a complicated question that I'll leave to the answer so that Carlos and that Larissa can address. And let's move with the presentations. So thank you, Larissa, for this introduction about Innosuisse and about the stages out of the program and the call. Now I'm going to ask our next speaker. It's going to be Carlos Pereira, that is going to talk for us a little bit about EMBRAPII and their way, how they finance, how they support, and how it's going to be their role in this partnership for TechMakers Switzerland. So Carlos, can you please share your screen for your slides?
Yes. Okay, thanks, James, for the introduction. Good morning for the Brazilian participants. Good afternoon for the European and Swiss ones. Yeah, I would like to, just before of sharing my slides, just to mention that James is already leaving the hard questions to us, and the good news that we have is that EMBRAPII is so well established that even the hard questions become easy ones. We have solved already the issue of IP, and also, like you mentioned, about the regulations. Of course, is an issue that's done mostly by the industrial partners that are always participation, very strongly participation in the collaboration. I wish to me just share my screen here to have this presentation. Just a moment. Yeah, here, and then, yeah, the idea is I'm going to make a presentation about the EMBRAPII, and then we are going to see here, and I think this collaboration that EMBRAPII is very similar to Innosuisse in the sense that we both have the same mission, that is to promote the development of industrial innovation projects. And it's very important here that must be demanded by companies. Like Larissa mentioned, in our case, it's also always the case. We have to have one research institution plus at least one company. In this case, when you have Brazil-Swiss collaboration, in each country, you need to have at least this pair. And the goal is to have projects that are fortunately going to the market and are help to strengthen competitiveness and promote the productivity and economic growth, so that Jamie and Apex are happy, can show these bears growing, and that's our ultimate goal. We are similar to some other institutes. I would say the most inspiring institution for us was the Fraunhofer, but of course we have also very similar institutions in some other countries, like I mentioned, Innosuisse in Switzerland. The difference, I would say, main difference between EMBRAPII Switzerland is that we are similar to Fraunhofer. We also have a network of research centers that makes the difference. And then one of the questions that eventually you have is that the Brazilian partner must have an EMBRAPII unit participating? Yes, that's the mandatory requirement. We can have some additional institutions also from the research, but it's mandatory to have at least one EMBRAPII unit. I'm going to show you later on which ones are those units. And again, addition to support the companies in this development of innovative projects, we have to focus on the industrial demands. That's very tied to this goal from EMBRAPII. And EMBRAPII aims to offer a flexible and agile cooperation model. Another good news is that basically you don't need a call for projects. In this case, we're using this call for projects basically to synchronize both sides, this assessment. But as an EMBRAPII units are accredited through public calls, they sign with us an action plan for 3 or 6 years, and they are empowered to contract project by themselves. They are, of course, evaluated later on. They have to ensure that the projects are innovative. They have industries, some requirements that they have to fill, but the goal is that they can do this very quickly. That's not necessary to wait until a call and so on, and that gives the innovation speed that is necessary. The goal of EMBRAPII is to share risk of investing in innovation, not only the financial risks, but also the technical risks. That's what our EMBRAPII units are there for. They are to help you in terms of developing your products and your solution, your technology. And another goal of EMBRAPII to increase private investment in innovation. I'm going to talk a little bit later. EMBRAPII demands that the industry participates financially with at least the same amount as EMBRAPII. I'm going to come to that later. We use the technology readiness level in the EMBRAPII projects. That means you're not funding basic research. Then I'm sorry if you're a university when looking for some academic grants to exchange, that's not the right call. There is some other calls for that. EMBRAPII focus on industrial projects, but also not only for tech transfer. If you have already a product defined and want to look some only for the commercialization, that's also not the right call. The right call here is if you have some challenges, you have faced some new potential features for your product, you want to innovate, that's the right point to be. And despite of being a young organization, Brazil, EMBRAPII has already some very, I would say, impressive numbers. We have already contracted more than almost 1,000 projects, 961, with more than 650 companies. We have generated a lot of IP. IP was one question. Another good news is that we don't have any mandatory IP guideline. Usually the goal is that the IP must belong to company, probably for participation of the research center, but it's up to the partners to discuss. And even in international collaboration projects, we don't have any problem. As you can see here, if you sum up all the projects, we are by 1.5 billion reais invested there, where it's interesting here to know that the companies are bringing about half of this amount. It's 49% comes from industry. And I think that's very important. That shows the industry is really investing. And this is the idea. The industry does the return of investment calculation, look for the market opportunities, and the idea is that these results come to the market. Here's just to give the application areas. You can see it's a very colorful pizza in the sense that we have, interesting enough, we have health as one of the main areas. I'm going to show later on a little bit about, for instance, some COVID-19 projects we have, agriculture, and so on. And most of the areas covered by the call, we already have some projects doing that. We have more or less a good division between large companies and SMEs participating, more or less half and half. Also some medium-sized companies. And just to summarize, EMBRAPII is a very flexible model. If we're doing open innovation, we can have an EMBRAPII project, join several companies together that develop the project together. We can have collaboration between large and startups and SMEs. And you can also have even cooperative projects between competitors, because if you're talking about TRL, if you go to TRL like 3 or 4, that was pre-competitive area, we can have companies that probably would be competitors, but sharing costs and developing together some innovation projects. The funding model, we provide up to 1/3 of the project cost financially. That's a very good point that every EMBRAPII research unit can come to a project and bring this. But that means if you provide only 1/3, the other 2/3 must be brought by the company and by the EMBRAPII unit. What we demanded that the industry brings at least 1/3. That means at least the same amount as we do in terms of financial resources, and the EMBRAPII unit can also participate either financial or in kind. And this difference then is the centers. We have a network of we have 56 EMBRAPII units. This year we have just joined additional 15 units. We cover most of the areas. ICT, very strong here. And the go to the top is about digitalization of companies. This area, of course, becomes very, very important in these COVID-19 times. Materials and chemistry, biotechnology, that's something from the biodiversity of Brazil, very strong. We have several units doing that. Also mechanics, manufacturing, applied technologies. We will make the presentation available later, but also in our webpage, you can find more detailed information about which EMBRAPII units is there that can help you in terms of putting your project together. Just some success stories we have ranging from, for instance, for oil and gas application, like this Flatfish is an autonomous underwater robot. We have, for instance, application agribusiness like drones monitoring plant. We have the dental office and so on, and different projects. Like I mentioned, more than 950 projects there. As I mentioned, we can have, I would really encourage you to do some cooperative projects. It's not mandatory to have only one company. You can have more than one company. For instance, we have a project with 11 SMEs working together in a project, and basically here using graphene in terms of improving the quality, the performance of batteries for electric cars. And this would be very difficult to one company alone to do that. By doing in collaboration, they can grab, and imagine then you have the participation. Later on, you're going to be Renato Mizawa, that is in Switzerland, is also doing this area. I think this is some of the areas energy can be several opportunities to our collaboration between Swiss and Brazil. Just to give an idea that shows that how flexible and agile EMBRAPII is, when the COVID-19 started, we decided to do an action to combat, to fight against the COVID-19 problems. And so far we have already 46 projects, about $7 million total and 3 million from our own resource. And we are doing projects like RF filtering for field hospitals. We are doing this medical device like oxygenator for serious patients and several others. International collaboration, why we think it's important. We think that innovation must be think in terms of global. I like Innosuisse put go global, also the whole initiatives. That's the idea. We are trying to partner with the best ones. So you can see most of the top nations in terms of innovation we have partnership with. And in particular, Innosuisse is a very important one. We really hope to be able to attract several projects. We don't have actual limit. If you have a good project to submit, we are going to fund it. And it's going to be hoping the next year or next time when we have a webinar, we can even present your success story in terms of the collaboration. Yeah, I think basically concludes my talk, and I will be available later on also for further questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Carlos. So guys, people, let's wrap up a little bit because I know that you have received a lot of information. There are some questions here we are going to address. Hold a little bit, but let's first do the wrap up. So we are here together, ApexBrasil, EMBRAPII, and Innosuisse, and we are delivering the project TechMaker. The objective of TechMaker Switzerland, Brazil, it is exactly to provide the resources and the matchmake so that you can find your industrial partners to co-develop a new solution or product. Carlo has shared some conditions about what would be the best criteria for you to apply, Larissa as well on the steps. But please understand that we have the models of subvention from the Brazilian side, which is EMBRAPII, that Carlos was just explaining, and also the subvention models from Switzerland. So we are all wrapping together in a single package so that we can benefit from this international cooperation. So if you are a Swiss company, please don't forget to contact Larissa to manifest that you would like to develop a solution in Brazil and to say the area of interest. If you are a Brazilian company, don't forget to manifest your interest to Carlos and team, to EMBRAPII, so that we are aware that you, the Brazilian company, is looking for innovation with the Switzerland market. Jamie, but I don't have the emails and I don't know how to talk with these people. It's fine. After this webinar from July the 3rd to July the 6th, if you have missed it, we are going to be sending you a feedback survey, trying to digest some more information from you on how to build your proposal, whether you have a partner or not, what is the area of interest that you would like to explore to develop a new solution. And after all this information is digested by us from ApexBrasil, we're going to be setting timelines and research and screening efforts together with EMBRAPII and the European Enterprise Network and also Innosuisse, so that we can try to find what would be at least one partner for you. If we fail to find a partner for you, no trouble. We'll keep the information about you are willing to develop a solution, and the most information that we have about the number of the projects, the stronger we are for a second call that we may need to do right after this one. So please share the information with us. Without the sharing with the feedback survey that we're going to be sending by mail, we are not going to be able to see about you. We have some questions here, but first I would like to do just the final wrap up about everything that is said here. So if you are a Brazilian company, understand that by the EMBRAPII rules, you need to find a research institute that is affiliated to EMBRAPII, that is going to be your main partner for the resources and for the project that you are going to deploy. And if you are a Swiss company, you need to talk with Larissa and understand the terms from Innosuisse so that you can bid your proposal and get all the orientation and instructions about how to have access to at least 50% out of the grants. When it comes about both corporations, especially from the Brazilian side, there is no restriction about the number of companies that could be bidding together for this project, as the example of Carlos with the graphene battery, so that you can benefit from this. So you can make a pool of other companies and propose together all of the projects. And now we have some questions from the audience that I would like to address. We have here, let me see, we have Carlos. I just would like to have from 1 or 2 minutes from you, no more from that. Can you just share a little bit about how it is to research or do industrial collaboration when it comes about regulated fields, especially biotech and medtech? If you can share just some examples or things to pay attention once bidding for a project, or things that you know that people should be taking care, very quickly, just to provide this answer for our anonymous guest.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think, as I mentioned, it's mandatory to have industrial participation at the EMBRAPII. That means usually you have already an industry that has experience in getting ANVISA or some regulated field, and basically we follow them. That means we don't have, of course we have to do that, but that's the difference. We're not only academic project. We have industry that are also involved. And for instance, that has happened now in the COVID time now. We have even some companies that were not in the medical area that decided to enter, that they joined together with one of our units that has experience doing that, and the unit has helped them to get through the stage until they get to this regulate. If you go to international collaboration, we have also a partner internationally, a partner local here, and that both partners can also help each other in terms of getting approval in each individual country. That's another very important point. For instance, I saw some startups question here. I can imagine for a startup to get this approval in Switzerland is not easy. If you have a partner there, can be also a startup there, both can together help each other to get the regulation in the individual countries. But again, this is something that is done also with the support from the industry involved.
I see, thank you. And you also have all the support from all the institutions once you are bidding for the project. So please be focused about the technology that you would like to develop, about finding a partner first. Without the partner and without sharing the information about the tech that you would like to develop, you are not going to progress with this call for proposals, and you are not going to progress with licensing and all the regulation that is needed. After, I'll make a question for Larissa, but now we'll move on with our speakers. So I would like to introduce you our fellows and friends and angels from European Enterprise Network that are going to be supporting us, EMBRAPII and Innosuisse and ApexBrasil, on finding potential partners for you. So we have two partners here today. We have Mr. Nicolas Lenza and we have Mr. Márcio Caneda. And Nicolas is the representative responsible for the Europe region, and Márcio is the representative responsible for the Brazilian region. So if you are a Swiss company and would like to find a partner and you don't have information at all, they're going to explain how they could be helping. And if you are a Brazilian company as well, we could be sharing information about how we could be helping to find a partner. So Nicolas, can you just share your screen and do your presentation? It's with you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome as well from my side to this webinar. Larissa, could you probably start my presentation?
Oh yeah, so forget that you have some trouble, right? And then Larissa will pass your slides. Okay, yes. So Larissa.
I hope it will be ready in a few seconds.
Keep asking people. We're going to be going on with information and questions and always digesting and wrapping up. We know it's a little bit challenging. It's complicated to have all this information. Don't forget to read the call so that everything is going to be clear for you as well about that we're talking. So Nicolas, now.
Okay, so here we are. Here's my presentation. Okay, so I'm Nicolas. I'm collaborator, scientific advisor of Innosuisse and a member of the Enterprise Europe Network team at Innosuisse. So during this webinar, I would like to explain a little bit how we can support you to find a partner either in Switzerland or in Brazil for this specific bilateral call. So on my next slide, I would like to explain a little bit who we are. So we are the Enterprise Europe Network Switzerland. The Enterprise Europe Network is in fact a network with about 600 partner organizations worldwide. It's a European initiative, but with partners basically everywhere in the world. So our focus is to establish international technology and business partnerships. So we support our Swiss organizations to find suitable partners abroad for any kind of cooperations or to apply for funding programs. In Switzerland, the Enterprise Europe Network is hosted by the Swiss Innovation Agency, Innosuisse, and we are a team of 7 advisors taking care of the EN tasks. So we are active in the most relevant sectors for Switzerland, which is basically health, environment, materials, ICT, food, energy, but of course all the other sectors are not excluded. So the EN Switzerland has a very strong focus on technology partnering. So we are involved in matchmaking events, and we have a technology database where we can share technology offers, partner searches, or technology requests. On my next slide, I would like to show a little bit how we can support you actively to find a partner for this specific Swiss-Brazil call. So in fact, we would like to offer like 2 opportunities. So the first opportunity is a partner search profile. It's quite a easy thing to do. So I listed the different steps you can do. So first of all, in case you need a partner, you do not have yet the contacts, contact your national EN advisor. So we can provide a very simple search profile where you can describe what kind of projects you have in mind, what kind of partner you're looking for. In case it's needed, we provide to draft such a partner search profile. As soon as we have the profile, we will disseminate the profile via different national communication channels. So in Switzerland, we have a technology database with registered clients. The technology alert is based on technology keywords. So we can send your partner search very targeted to different organizations, industry and academia in Switzerland. It's up to you if the profile shall be public or anonymous. This is something you can discuss with your EN advisor. In case there are expression of interests, the EN will initiate a first contact, and then it's up to you to discuss the next step with your potential partner. Then on the next slide, it's an additional opportunity. So we call it direct matching. Sometimes this works quite nicely, and our clients prefer to work like in this way. So probably you have already potential partners in mind, or you found potential partners. You did a web search, and you would make to use. You would like to get the support from a regional organization like EN in Switzerland to directly contact these potential partners. So this can have an advantage. So we sometimes already have contacts in these organizations. We know the organizations. We can explain the call, the specificities of the call, so we can initiate the first contact for you. And in case there is interest, we will just link the two organizations, initiate the first contact, and you can discuss this potential cooperation. So this is basically it. So in case you're interested, here you have my contact details. Just approach me and I will guide you to this process.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. So we're going to be sending additional information about how Enterprise Europe Network works and how they could be supporting you and all the fluxes that you need and process that you need to oversee and respect. But now that we have introduced our European fellow to support the Brazilian companies to find support European companies to find Brazilian partners, we will progress with our webinar. But first, I would like to take a question that it's not answered. So let's see. Okay. Okay, Larissa, I would like to have an overview of you from this question from Thiago Machado. Do you have a policy or any proposed policy or condition for intellectual property regarding the results achieved from this cooperation? I know that this question could be answered by EMBRAPII as well, but I would like to get the Swiss perspective. Larissa?
Yes, thank you for this question. So the idea is that the research partner get the funding from Innosuisse, but the industry partner will get their IP rights. I don't know if this is similar to EMBRAPII funding rules.
And EMBRAPII case is already also answered the question there, is basis up to the project partners. The industry can be negotiated before. Usual case, if you can have a shared IP in terms of the ownership, but the commercialization rights also goes for the company, and we don't have any mandatory rules that the EMBRAPII unit keep the IP, because we really want that the project goes to the market, and then the IP, all those issues, in our opinion, is most a company issue than a research center issue. But again, it's open. They can negotiate before the project starts.
Okay, Carlos, are universities eligible to take part on this call?
Yes, we have some universities. We have now actually a large number of universities that are we have EMBRAPII units. We just selected 11, then we had already 6. We have 17 universities, and as I mentioned, but also can have another research group partnering with some EMBRAPII unit, also taking part at the proposal. That means it can be part of the Brazilian team. We have one request we have is the EMBRAPII unit must be responsible for at least 70% of the research part of the project. So to avoid that the project's done by some other institution, but that means they can subcontract up to 30% of the project with, for instance, some partnering institution. That's possible.
I see. Larissa, there is one question. That question was for, I'm sorry for the spelling, I'm not really sure whether I could get it, but Tuhaj Ibrahim, I think it is. If it is not, I hope it was close. I'm sorry for not knowing how to say your name, but I hope that could have answered a little bit about your question. Larissa, there is one question for a Brazilian fellow here that I think it's very relevant because it's very generic, however important. Mr. Kleberton Ferri is asking whether this call would be open to work with the furniture sector. So we know that we have the sectors that we have selected, right? We know that they are transversal. So it's pretty much about what would be the development that this company would like to propose. And if they have a fit, right, with the company, with the areas that we are developing, yes, they could be, but I would love to hear comments about it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's a very good question. The topics I presented in my slide is really, let's say, a synthesis of what EMBRAPII and Innosuisse has listed also out of those stakeholders events which we held in Brazil and in Switzerland. But it's an open innovation call. So any kinds of innovation are welcome. If you find partners, if you find a market, if you find a business case, and if the innovation is good enough for the evaluators to say let's fund this project. So we are very happy to also go with the furniture industry. It's also up to the evaluations, of course, but it's still an open innovation call.
I see. So you see that you don't have restrictions about sectors, whether you have a fit with the development area of your new technology or product with the main areas that we are presenting in this webinar and in the calls. I know that we have more questions, but we need to progress with our conversation. So now,
eventually, may I add just what is regarding the furniture? It's exactly right what Larissa and you mentioned. We have the areas are horizontal areas. That means if you have a demand for new materials for furniture, or for instance, new fixture, new ink, more environment-friendly inks or something like that, this is open. We can do them projects that are related to that, no problem. It's really interesting. It could be some antiviral stuff that can be used now for, let's say, hospitals can also be, or monitoring beds. For instance, we do have a project with monitoring beds that you can use, for instance, home care, that can monitor vital signals and send to transmit for, it's become more and more important nowadays. For instance, this kind of also related to furniture can be developed. Just to add.
I see. Thank you so much. We have some more questions. We'll try to answer that after. If not, we're trying to send answers by mail. But now let's move on with our program. It's going to be the last part of it. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have two speakers. That would be Mr. Thiago from Clariant and also Mr. Renato Minamisawa. However, Mr. Thiago is having trouble with connections, right? Things happen once you are talking about live events, bad things sometimes. I do hope that Thiago can join us for an additional call, but let's have some chit-chat conversation here with Renato. Renato, would like to invite you to open your microphone. We're going to have just a brief conversation about what is the experience of developing innovation in Brazil and Switzerland, what is the attraction and the fit of both markets, and what would be main areas of opportunities or recommendations that Renato, as an entrepreneur that is leading some innovation products, could share with you audience that are going to experience this process or going to be with us navigating on it. So Renato, could you just do a brief intro of yours, please?
Yeah, my name is, Jaime introduced me already, Renato Minamisawa. And I'm a professor at the University of Applied Science of Northwest Switzerland, the FHNW, and in the area of power electronics, energy systems. I'm a former ABB scientist also in the area of power electronics. And I'm also a co-founder of a startup in the area of digitalization of power electronics and energy systems, particularly for photovoltaic applications. And our school, I think I can talk a bit about our school, if it's okay. Like a bit of marketing of us.
A little bit.
So, our institute, we are all former General Electrics and ABB and Bombardier scientists and as professors, and we perform research together with several companies, including those that I mentioned, but also small companies and medium companies in the area of digitalizing their power electronic systems, analyzing their lifetimes, and also digitalizing utility companies and large energy systems also.
So you have here a professor, You have here someone who is developing new tech solutions with other companies, not only a project, and you have an entrepreneur. The three in one. So we have a very richful view here about what is going on this process. Renato, being working with so many different innovation projects, working with students and other entrepreneurs, what you would see or comment as a real good fit, areas that are real good fit in between the Swiss market and the Brazilian market?
Well, energy for sure. Okay, I gotta say, this is my expertise also. I think in this area, sustainability energy is I think a topic very important. And then you have the topic, I cannot tell you by Thiago, but I can say in the chemistry part, I think there's a lot of interaction. I think Brazil has a very developed industry also. So there, in fact, a lot of possibilities. Okay, there's a lot of possibilities, but I can comment on the market. I know that is energy, which is a market that is always growing. Depending on what happens, people need more and more energy. And I would say also on the market of IT, Brazil, in the way I see things, I have my own company on IT. Brazil, I see even in Switzerland that medium companies and small companies are not fully digitalized. And this I tell by experience because I work with several sized companies. And coming from ABB, I understand what multinational companies can do already. And I see the difficulty that they have to incorporate this digitalization in their products and their work processes, right? So I see that in the digitalization field, which is not, I don't see as a new field, but I see as a field that is exploding at the moment. I see that Brazil has a huge potential to optimize processes. And I think that's what Switzerland also in several topics needs. You know? So our startup grows by now upon the Swiss markets, upon a market that is stopping work with Excel tables and want more like, you know, optimized processes and efficient technologies. And I see the IT field as a very important and a field where Brazil can grow together with Switzerland.
I see. I would like to hear some comments of yours about, I mean, we have at Switzerland, ABB, we have Anders Hauser, which are big players in the industry 4.0 when it comes about automation and all the IT applications for advanced manufacturing. Do you see that Brazilian companies, the Brazilian supply chain has a space for advanced technologies regarding advanced manufacturing, and that Switzerland could be the provider out of these new solutions for a whole competitive advantage of Brazilian companies?
Well, I see, well, nowadays technology is global, right? So we can develop data science in Switzerland with front-end development in India and with programming guys in Brazil also. So I don't think that Switzerland would be like a special country to develop this technology for Brazil, but that I would rather say that Brazil needs a lot, and something is developing in Brazil, I'm sure, or a lot of things. And a lot of things, other ideas and new ideas are also developed in Switzerland. Switzerland is extremely successful in attracting high qualified talents. I think this is I studied in Germany and the United States and in Brazil in the University of São Paulo. And I see that Switzerland is particularly very talented in attracting talents, like the Silicon Valley in California. So I think here what Switzerland can do is to put all these good people to help developing further this technology in Brazil. So I think the environment is very good because we have this huge country with a lot of companies that can make things more cheaper and more efficient. And you have all the scientists in Switzerland that are very willing to collaborate, and also companies here, I'm sure, to expand their markets. So I think Switzerland can contribute a lot. But of course, digitalization is a global technology, right? So everybody gonna enter the Brazilian market and the Swiss market now. So that's what I can say.
But remember, this international cooperation, it's not only for commercial proposals. So if you have a technology that is totally red and you would like to have those resources only for licensing, this cooperation is not for you. This cooperation is for you that would like to develop a new solution fitting to your Brazilian or Swiss partner, because we are here to invest in innovation itself and not only scaling existing innovation. But Renato, also with your experience, I would love to have some comments of yours about doing business in between both cultures. You know, we are talking about an international corporation, and we have two different mindsets. We have the Swiss mindset and we have the Brazilian mindset. Always that I want to introduce about the Brazilian way of doing business, I always say to Europeans, to Asian people, to North American people, that sometimes we say yes that is equivalent to a no, that sometimes we say a no that is equivalent to a yes, and a yes could be a no and yes in a short period of time. However, this may not be true to other cultures. So Renato, what would be some pieces of advice that you could give for Brazilian entrepreneurs and founders that would like to be negotiating with Swiss entrepreneurs and vice versa?
Okay, good. So, well, stereotypes are stereotypes, right? So I don't like to generalize, right? So we have all sort of people everywhere. What a what a trick question you gave me now. Huh? Let me try to answer that. So I can say a bit of how I perceive Swiss business culture. Although I gotta say, Brazil is a very, Switzerland is a very international country when dealing with business, okay? So mostly if you start at the medium-sized companies, you know, and I think a lot of startups, because of a lot of startups comes from the universities, you know, where you have all these international students. So I think what I would comment on that is that people here are, the way I perceive, they're very competent and oriented to delivering results. Okay, so here is an ambient where people try to grow together. Okay, it's not much of a competition environment. So everybody is trying to reach the same goal. Swiss are very, or let's say I will not stay Swiss, but we all learn it. I'm not Swiss, but I'm here 10 years, but we all learn it to be on time. You know, we all learn to be as reliable as possible, right? Business are business. And one day you buy that and then come a virus crisis and you cannot pay anymore or something like that, right? So this is something that any country I think can happen, but I don't see much of overall of a cultural resistance between the countries, okay? I'm sure that I never work in Brazilian companies, but I know ABB colleagues that come from Brazil, a lot of them actually to Switzerland, and they're extremely professional and serious and deliver. So I don't see much of a barrier to make business together between Switzerland and Brazil. Not as I see, for example, between China and Switzerland, or China and Brazil, where we have much more language problems and government problems. I think culturally, the countries are very different in some aspect, but for business, they are very compatible.
I see. And for the Swiss entrepreneurs and founders that are together with us, we are going almost finished with our time. I would like to take one or two more questions before we end our webinar. But for the Swiss entrepreneurs that would like to understand the Brazilian culture, please understand that we would like to be together. We would like to understand who you are, what is your value proposition, whether you are reliable. I know this is kind of universal values that people look to each other, but in Brazil, it's very important that after you get the first handshaking and the first smile, that you keep on touch, that you keep informing about how things are going without being pressing, be gentle, and understand that as in Switzerland, many Brazilian corporations need to talk with many different directors in their boards to get a project and a complex answer delivered for you. And complex answers could be killing your project in the bidding of your project. So keep simple. Have the answers. Try to be as much objective and directed that you can with the problems that you need to address, because you may have some troubles with things that are not relevant for the stage that we are talking about. What I mean, what is really important now, it is to identify who is your partner, who could be adding value to your Swiss solution or your Brazilian solution, and understanding the terms and what is needed for that solution and innovation to rise. After you have this, it's going to be a complication to understand more details about intellectual property, more details about how to commercialize the solution, more details about founding other companies to commercialize that. Don't look for that right now. Now you have to focus about finding a partner, having a good conversation, a reliable one. Do not make things complex. And after you see that you have a potential partner, go progressing with things that you need to address. This is very important because if you have a bunch of different problems to answer in a very short period of time, you are going to have problems with us Brazilians, because we're going to ask for authorizations of our boards, and the project could be very biased and very handicapped by this situation, right? And we don't want that. Well, Renato, okay.
Can I just, just to stress that again, that is very important. We are here to help you to find the partners. If I saw several Q&A here from startups and companies. That's if you have questions, look, you can both contact, if you're in Brazil, contact EMBRAPII, the headquarters, or the EMBRAPII unit directly, that we are going to help you to find the appropriate partners. We have the EEN there, we have the Innosuisse on the other side. It's really take advantage of this. We have a structure that all the partners here can really help you to bid. It's not easy to find the correct partner, but we do have these in both sides. Definitely there are several opportunities and we are there to help.
Thank you, Carlos. For sure, all the partners here, we cannot guarantee that we will find the greatest partner for you, but we will try to find a partner for you so that you can understand the environment and the challenges and whether you would like to progress. That's our task together. Renato, we are going to close our panel here. For the ones that are joining right now, I just sharing once again that Mr. Thiago from Clariant had a problem with the internet, so we were just having our final panel with Mr. Renato. He was sharing some comments and instructions about how it was the experience of Brazilian and Swiss entrepreneurs to relate to each other, a little bit about what would be the fields of interest in both countries to be developed due to the market opportunities and innovation needs. And now, Renato, I just would like to have a 1 minute, no more than that, final closing remark on yours regarding an encouragement message for the Swiss entrepreneurs and founders and businessmen, and also the Brazilian entrepreneurs and founders that would like to advance with this experience of a co-development and with this governmental RDI subvention for this goal to be successful, so they can bid, they can find, and what is going to be the environment that they're going to find. So it's just a final word with an encouragement message from yours, please.
Well, I think the encouragement is that both markets are excellent, right? And I think both markets are very innovative with a lot of opportunities, and that I think is very worth to find a partner and try to enter each other market and to develop good technology together. This is going to give you a great competitiveness advantage over your competitors. and it will help you to expand your business.
I say thank you. Thank you so much for that. So after, for the ones that are joining and that are staying with us, remember that we're going to send next steps for you with the feedback survey, how to apply all these fluxes. We need your information, so please interact with us. Renato, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Now we're moving for the final 3 to 4 minutes of our meeting here today. I just would like to get some more questions from our audience. And Larissa, I think that one's going to be for you and Carlos. I would love to have the perspective of our Swiss and Brazilian partners for this TechMake edition. People were asking, Larissa, whether there is any legal instrument that bind together EMBRAPII and Innosuisse, and that bind together the projects that are going to be presented by the Swiss side and the Brazilian side. Could you share some insights about it?
Well, there is a common memorandum of understanding which we signed, both funding agencies together, just to formally, to formally state the cooperation as such, but it doesn't have a direct impact on projects, or maybe I misunderstood the question.
No, it's fine. So you're saying that there is a memorandum that binds together,
Yep.
Swiss and BRAP for the international cooperation. Carlos, could you address a little bit about whether there is any?
No, that's exactly like that. It's basically we have a memorandum of understanding that put the collaboration together. To some extent, the projects can even be kind of independent, but for sure it must eventually be interesting for the partners to define a legal because of the results, IP, and so on. But this is up to the consortia. Basically, we handle, from the EMBRAPII part, we basically handle mainly the Brazilian part of the project and see if it makes sense, and we evaluate this and look also, of course, the add-on. And if we agree and we have the agreement from Innosuisse, the project can be supported. But basically, there's no mandatory requirement to have a legal contract or something like that. It's, of course, it's up to the partners to define it.
I see. So understand that there is a legal instrument binding together both institutions for the resources and for all the basic conditions. But if you are bidding your project with your partner that you have identified, after having all the terms about the technology that you're going to develop, you need to also establish what would be the legal terms in between your partners, not with EMBRAPII or Innosuisse, but in between you, so that you have the most fair value terms for each side regarding this new technology and this new partnership. So it is one thing that everyone here advises, that you take some time after you understood who is your partner and what is your project, that you define legal terms. Sometimes it's a pity because we see that people have the partner, have the technology, they have understood how to do it, but they were not happy with the negotiation of legal terms in between them. And so they do not advance with the proposal. Larissa would like to share some more additional comments or experience regarding this.
Yes, thank you, Jaime. A little addition, exactly as you pointed out, there will be a so-called consortium agreement between all the partners, and also, of course, on national level, we will make funding agreements between, for example, Innosuisse and the partners from Switzerland, and I guess same on the Brazilian side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think eventually to add that makes more think the expectation is not that the money is going to cross the ocean. I would say basically each organization is going to fund each one part that makes things easier from that point of view. That means we do have individual legal agreements between, in our case, the EMBRAPII units and the project partners. We have this consortium agreement binds overall in the collaboration, but it's more kind of country-based funding that support their own activities. That's important.
I see. So Diana, hope that you were happier with the comments. I'm seeing that Edson and Vitor are trying to work together, and Renato as well. Feel free to begin the business and to identify partners. We are here for that. So whether you're doing this webinar, whether you're seeing new partners, just feel free to talk and to identify possibilities so that you can bid for a new project. We have here a final comment. Okay, it's the partners and the other fellows from Brazil fostering all the information. So besides Amanda, now we have Philip from the Swiss Business Hub saying a hello to everyone here. Also stating that he is supporting small and medium enterprises from Switzerland to enter the Brazilian market, and that they will be collaborating together with us so that you can identify more partners for the matchmaking session. So we are finishing today. We have one or two more questions here, but we do not have more time. I would like to keep that straight. I hope that you have enjoyed a little bit more about what is the value proposition out of the first TechMake edition from Switzerland and Brazil. I hope that you could have understand what are the roles of all the institutions. ApexBrasil, it's going to be your main hub of collecting information and send you additional information for this process so that we can foster and ask for the support of Innosuisse, EMBRAPII, and the European Enterprise Network. We are going to be sending you a final feedback survey from this webinar. We are going to be asking basic questions. Do you have a partner? Would you like to develop a project? What is your area of interest? If you don't have a partner, could you list at least 3 people or 3 companies in the target country that could be your match? Based on this information, we're going to have a window of 2 to 3 weeks to work with our network, to work with our partners to identify what would be people for you to interview. And after we have this done, we're going to propose a matchmaking session with you and your potential partners so you can talk with him or her. And whether you like them and enjoy the idea, just take a look to the terms out of the call of proposals in Portuguese or in English. We are sending you to you as well if you didn't have a chance to take a look, and bid your proposal on time. We are sending all the presentations that are done here today, sorry. And also the feedback survey so that we can get to know you. Don't be afraid. All the information are confidential that we're going to receive. You can trust on that and all the legal instruments that we have in between us all. And we do hope that you have a wonderful experience in this 3-month window that we're going to be working together. And remember, we are sharing all the information once again, should you haven't the time or the precision to understand all the details. Thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed. And if you feel the need, we'll do an additional webinar to clarify things with you. Thank you so much to all the audience. Thank you so much, all the speakers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you all.